Before you buy a home here in Asheville, there are a few things you really need to understand about common inspection issues that frequently show up here. I'm Justin Grogan, your Asheville real estate advisor. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 7 most common inspection-related issues that I see when my buyers go under contract to buy a home here in Asheville. Now, some of these are serious, some are just part of owning a mountain home, so it's important that you know which is which. And if this seems like it might be helpful for you, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, so you can stay up to date with the new content we're putting out every week. Now, the first set of inspection issues that I see come up regularly here in Asheville relate to the flow of water to and around your home. Now, we're in the mountains, so lots here are typically sloped, we get a lot of rain, and water is always going to follow gravity. But it's super important that that water stays away from your house's foundation. When the water flow is not managed properly, we find the following issues cited regularly on inspection reports. The first is negative grading. This simply means that the slope comes all the way to the house and therefore the water does not properly redirect around your home. What you want to see is for the earth around the foundation to be slightly raised up so the water can't quite get to it. Another common issue is the downspouts from the gutters are dumping too close to the foundation. Now, this can cause surface water pooling near the home. Reading these items on an inspection report can sound alarming, but the good news is that in most cases, these issues are very fixable, pretty straightforward, and pretty inexpensive. Downspouts can be easily extended. A French drain, which is basically a buried drain that captures water and redirects it. It can be dug easily and installed pretty cheaply, and oftentimes simply adding some fill dirt closer to the home so that water naturally slopes away from the foundation solves your problem. The key takeaway is this: in Asheville, managing the flow of water is step 1, because if water isn't being controlled outside the house, it can create other issues with the house itself. When water flow around the house is not properly managed, it can lead to our next most common inspection issue, which is damage in the crawl space or the basement. The biggest issue we see in these areas are typically caused by moisture making its way under a home, and that's why the drainage and the water flow issues that we just talked about are so important. Water intrusion into the crawl space can cause mold, wood rot, or even sagging floors from compromised floor joists. Now, a preventative measure that you really want to look for that many crawl spaces here have are called a vapor barrier. And this just simply prevents water from coming up out of the ground, or they might even possibly be fully encapsulated, which keeps them completely dry. Now, these are important things to look for when you're touring a home. Checking out a kitchen is certainly more fun, but checking out the crawl space could save you a lot of headaches down the road. Wood-destroying insects such as termites are another common inspection issue that we see regularly here in Asheville. Now, I always advise my buyers to have a pest inspector come out to look for signs of termites during the inspection period. And what they're looking for is there a current activity or is there evidence of historical activity? And if the answer to either of those questions is yes, is there any damage that's been caused, and is that damage cosmetic or structural? Now, the good news is that exterminating termites is a pretty straightforward and inexpensive effort, as long as they haven't caused significant structural damage before you get to them. Now, the big headline from these first few items is that some of the biggest and most challenging inspection issues we see start under the home. Now, this is why it's so important to thoroughly examine outside and underneath a home while you're out touring properties so that you can hopefully catch some of these red flags before you put in an offer. Another inspection item that comes up pretty frequently here in the Asheville area and really all throughout Western North Carolina is high levels of radon. Now, radon is a naturally occurring gas that comes from the ground. It's invisible, it's odorless, and the only way to know if it's present at elevated levels is through testing. Now, because of our mountain geology, it's not uncommon for homes here, both older homes and newer construction homes, to test high for radon. When buyers see a radon issue on an inspection report, it can sound scary, but the reality is that radon is actually one of the most straightforward inspection items to address. Mitigation systems are very common here, they're highly effective, and in most cases, this becomes a negotiable item rather than a deal breaker. Another inspection topic that you'll want to pay close attention to, especially once you get outside the city limits, is the septic system and the well system if the house has those. And during the inspection process, we're looking to understand whether the system is functioning properly, how it's been maintained, and whether it's appropriately sized for the home. Now, the same idea applies to your well. You'll definitely want to have the water tested by a lab because it's not uncommon for water here to test high for bacteria or contaminants when they come from a well. The good news is that it's pretty easy, it's cheap, straightforward, and really effective to shock a well to kill anything harmful that's in the water. The bottom line here is that these systems work really well when they're well maintained and serviced regularly. So if you buy a home with a well and septic, make sure to get them serviced annually to avoid costly challenges in the long run. The big takeaway here is that it's important to understand what inspection issues are common here in Asheville and that you know how to assess those issues realistically. When you understand what tends to show up and how to address those issues, you're much less likely to panic when you read your inspection report. And that is where I come in, helping you interpret what you're seeing, understanding the implications, and deciding how to respond without overreacting. So if you need some advice or a trusted advisor in your corner, please reach out. I'd love to help. I'm Justin Grogan, your Asheville real estate advisor. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.